Welcome to Too Old, Too New, the music discovery podcast that brings you something old, something new, something Nate, something Bruce. I'm Nate Runkle, host of the Yo That's My Jawn podcast, and with me by my side, as always, is my friend Bruce Warren of WXPN. The premise of this show is very simple. Every episode, we're going to bring you two songs apiece, one new that's been spinning on our turntable platters, and one old that we believe still absolutely matters. See what I did there with the rhymes?
I like that.
So, this is our second episode. Welcome to our show.
Yeah, welcome everybody. Thank you for such an amazing response to the first episode.
Yeah.
We could not have been happier with the way it went down.
For sure. And, you know, I know nobody chart chases, but we almost broke the top 100 of the music commentary podcasts on Apple Podcasts, which is huge. So continue to tell all your friends and continue to listen.
Absolutely. But Nate, I'll tell you what, I'm glad there's not 105, only 105 podcasts, because if we were at that number, that would not look too good.
It would be pretty bad. It would be pretty bad on us.
Anyway, good to see you, buddy.
Great to see you too. I'm super excited to talk as always. And what do you want to start with? You got something old or you got something new to kick off?
Let's start with something old.
Okay, I like it.
All right. Let's. By the way, my kids said we should consider changing the name of the show, of the podcast, from Too Old, because to start with Too New instead of Too Old, because they know I'm an old guy, because they expect like two old guys sitting around talking about music. I know you're not old, but I am.
I'm getting there. Was trying to make the logo at one point, I made this really cool thing, and then Katie, my beautiful wife, said to me, "It looks like it says Two Old Men," because the new was upside down. So,
okay, hey, branding is really tough, right? It's tough. But just remember this, Nate. Age is only a motherfucking number.
Hell yeah.
Okay?
Hell yeah.
So there you go. All right, so I'm going to start with something new. I'm going to 1982 to a title song to a Reggae Legends album, a guy named Dennis Brown. That some folks may be familiar with Dennis Brown, but let me just put it this way. Bob Marley once praised Dennis Brown as the greatest reggae singer in the world. Okay? That's a high compliment coming from a guy like Bob Marley. And Dennis Brown is pretty much a reggae legend. Never had the breakthrough here in the States that he deserved. In, I guess, 1980, 81, he got signed to a major label here in the States, and they were hoping that would catapult him into sort of mainstream success. He came close. 1982, the title song to the album, Love Has Found Its Way, a reggae groove, but with a very 80s sort of mainstream pop sensibility to it. So let's listen to a little bit of it right now. Yeah, that's it. You feeling that groove?
Oh my God. It's so choice. Like the background vocals are just produced perfectly. Like they just come in and completely set the tone.
Yeah, it sounded really good at the time when it came out. And even though it has that like 80s pop sensibility, still really holds up. And if you're not familiar with Dennis Brown, you can start with that. But man, that cat has got an amazing, amazing discography. So definitely check out more.
I was
going to
say, when I
music.
looked him up, there was like hundreds of albums.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's artists all over the world who are making incredible music in their own countries, and they have large followings there. But Dennis, never quite sort of made it over here. But Dennis Brown was also, let me say one more thing. Dennis Brown was also part of this group of reggae artists who in the 80s wanted to follow in Bob Marley's American footsteps, crossing over to a broader audience, but also getting radio play. And, I think of Third World, and I think of Black Uhuru, or two other bands that I sort of lumped together with Dennis around the same time, who made just great, great records that fortunately brought them to broader audiences, but unfortunately to them didn't have the impact, I think, that their record labels were hoping for, but still contains some amazing music.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. I dig it, man.
And you? What you got?
So for me, I'm taking it back to 1969. I am an enormous fan of Graham Parsons. Primarily, the sound of his voice with Emmylou Harris's voice, I think, is what heaven sounds like when the pearly gates open for you. Should heaven exist? It's just the two of them harmonizing at you, which is funny because Emmylou, not on this song that I picked. I took it back a little further to the first Flying Burrito Brothers record. And so my pick, and we'll just jump into it, and then I'll blabber about it afterwards. But the pick I have is Hot Burrito #1, and I'm gonna hit a little bit of that right now. Yeah, so I am just like, that song absolutely slays me. The vocal performance on it is just. It feels fresh. It feels like people have heard me discuss this on my show a bunch, but it feels like singing from the wound and not from the scar, and that's kind of where the good stuff to me comes from, right? I can't pull it off myself, but I respect it whenever I hear somebody else doing it. And from what I understand, Chris Etheridge, the bass player at the time of the Flying Burrito Brothers, just had that melody sitting around, and he played it for Graham. Graham sat down, wrote it in a day, and then tracked it in a day. So
wow.
Like a one-day turnaround on one of the greatest songs ever written.
You know, first of all, the album, talk a little bit about the album for a second that record's on, right?
Yeah. So like, it's crazy to me because like the album is the Gilded Palace of Sin. All right. Like I said, it came out in '69. It's the first post Birds explosion, comes after Sweetheart of the Rodeo. Chris Hillman and Graham Parsons put this project together, and like this album was one. Hold on, I have the number written down here somewhere. It was number. I'm going to clean this up. Okay, this album was number 192 on the Rolling Stone top 500 albums of all time back in 2012. It has since slid to 462. Once again, proving to me that countdowns and numbers are bullshit outside of WXPN, which does an amazing countdown.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, the album just screams. I mean, like it's the first time we're really bridging country and rock into some kind of like spectral beauty.
All right, so Nate, finish this sentence. Fill in the blank. Okay, there would be no blank without Sweetheart of the Rodeo or the Gilded Palace of Sin.
So many, but there'd be no Eagles. There'd be no, Linda Ronstadt. There'd be no, what were the Stone Ponies? Like, this was it. This was the start of an entire sound.
Exactly. Important records, people. Just remember that. Great choice.
Thank
Love
you,
it.
sir. Hey,
Love it.
Speaking of great music, you this weekend got to see one of the small pop-up shows of Maggie Rogers, and I gotta ask, how killer was that?
It was pretty killer. It was electric. It was really, it was electric emotionally, physically. It was everything that I was hoping for. For those not familiar, Maggie announced a tour. And with it, like 4 or 5 small intimate shows. And for those not familiar with the lingo, they're called underplays. So, for example, the big show in Philly is at the Wells Fargo Center. That's where the 76ers play basketball. And she played this incredible venue, the TLA here in Philly. There were about 1,000 people here. And it was incredible. She played the entire new record. And you know how and she played the album 2 days after, I guess, it came out. I'd listened to the album, and Nate, you have this experience with new records when you see bands play them, songs from them. The material just like really comes alive, and that's sort of what happened. Killer band, fans were crazy. Somebody proposed to somebody during the show, so it had all the elements of awesome rock and roll.
That's incredible.
So,
I gotta ask, how was The Kills, which is my favorite song on the new record?
It was a highlight, and I have a feeling that's the song that's going to break her out on this record. From this record,
definitely,
definitely a highlight. There's a handful of really upbeat sort of Maggie Rogers pop tunes on this record, but The Kills, I think that's the one that's going to get her over the finish line to superstardom, which I'm really happy for because Maggie's an amazing artist. So good question.
She really is. She really is. So that's a new album, which is a perfect segue into something new. Look at us. I'll go first on this one. My something new is something that surprised me because the algorithm actually fed me this on Tidal. And the algorithm never feeds me good stuff. But it fed me my new obsession, and my new obsession is the Lemon Twigs. I'm not sure how familiar you are with them. I was only passing, like I had heard them, people talk about them here and there, which is why when the algorithm fed me this song, I was like, oh, let's give it a shot. But everybody I've talked to that has said something to me, y'all downplayed this because this is phenomenal pop music. Like this is just perfect power pop, and that's everything I ever want in a song. And it's called How Can I Love Her More? And we're going to listen to a little bit of it right now. I mean, these harmonies and the production on this amazed me on the first time I listened to it. And then I found out that it's literally two dudes doing all of it. It's the D'Addario brothers, Brian and Michael, child actors, I believe. One of them was in Sinister, and the other was in an episode of like Law and Order SVU or something like that.
Wow!
But primarily on this album, the new album coming out, which is called A Dream Is All We Know. It's just the two of them. On this song, it's almost all Brian. And except for vocally, which is the most crazy thing I've ever heard because it is so lush and so full. It almost feels like the Wrecking Crew was brought in to kind of back up the entire studio session. But are you familiar with the Lemon Twigs?
It's great. I am familiar with the Lemon Twigs. I haven't heard this song though, and a lot of people whose opinions I respect have been raving about it. I give it 10 out of 10 sunshines. Let's like, there you go. Like, it's funny you mentioned the Wrecking Crew because I had like, everybody has their own touch points for music from the past. And for me, it was like, come on, get happy.
Yes.
Right. And everything's Archie. So by the Archie. So I don't know why those two things I immediately was struck by, but like great song by the Lemon Twigs.
Yeah,
come on.
And it's really hilarious that you say that because when I played it for Katie in the car, she was like, wait, I thought you said this was your something new. Isn't this an old song? And I was like, see, they're successful.
Man. Yeah.
How about you? What do you got?
Well, I called an audible this morning. I had a new song that I'm going to hold. But as I got into the office this morning, I kind of remembered that our buddy Tim Showalter from Strand of Oaks released a new song today called Party at Monster Lake. It's the second song from his forthcoming ambient electronic record called Miracle Focus. That's the name of the record. And hey, we had the opportunity to experience Miracle Focus.
Yes, we
right?
did. Yes, we did.
In its very first public performance, right?
That's
right.
right.
You want to tell people like
about it?
So
what happened was Tim does these shows every year called the Winter Classic. All right, it's 2 nights at Johnny Brenda's, and Bruce had asked me in advance. He was like, "Are you going to the Winter Classic?" And I was like, "Nah, I didn't get tickets, so probably not." And he was like, "Ah, man, you're gonna miss it." And then of course the FOMO set in, and so I immediately picked up a ticket and rode solo to the show. And there were signs up that it was like Strand of Oaks is going to be playing their new album, the new album in its entirety, at this time and all. And I was like, oh, awesome, because you had said you were listening to this album and you said it was phenomenal, and so I was super excited. And then Tim did the opening set of playing some of the old classics and stuff solo, and then came out and blew my fucking head off my body.
Yeah, it was really something else. I mean, it was something else. So, to set it up, well, I'll tell you what, let's play a little bit of it and people can check it out. All right, there you go. You got a little taste. It is a total vibe. And hey, listen, no spoiler alerts here, but spoiler alert, there's no soaring guitar solos on this record. I think that's one of maybe a couple songs that actually has some guitar on it, but it's mostly keyboard-based, synth-based, some rhythm machines at work. Tim has into a beautiful period of musical liberation. He spent a lot of time. Tim and we talk pretty regularly about music, and Tim spent a good part of the last couple of years listening to a lot of Alice Coltrane, and has been very moved by spiritual jazz. And he decided, like, you know what, the hell with it, man. I'm just going to be an artist. I'm gonna just do some music creating, and so it's a mind-blowing record. I gotta, we experienced it, right, Nate? It was pretty cool.
It's easily my most anticipated album this year.
Yeah,
and it comes out June, I think 9th. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
something like that?
Early June, and he's touring as a duo. Him and the guy who produced the record. You'll get some classics, right? But mostly it'll be about Miracle Focus. So think about Miracle Focus. Just think about that. So there you go. That's my something new.
Oh, my God. Another week of great collection of songs. As always, you can find these songs. We have an ongoing podcast or playlist on Spotify that I'm going to update every month with all of the songs. So the April podcast is live. These songs will be up there as well as the songs from last week. So make sure if you want to check them out fully, they're there. Go listen to it.
All right, Natiphonic.
I love it.
Always.
Thank you so much, sir, for doing this, and thanks everybody for listening. If you want to find any more about Bruce, you can find him on the socials at Some Velvet Blog and also on WXPN every Saturday afternoon, right? 12 to 2? No, I made that up.
Saturday. Get it right, Nate. Okay, Saturday morning from 10 a to 2 p.m.
10. That's
right?
it.
And also, plug your own show. You're on the interwebs now.
I'm making
right?
moves. You can find me on the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast, available wherever you got this podcast from. I'm there too. So go ahead and like and subscribe that. Bruce, thanks for doing this. And guys, we will see you next time. Have yourselves a merry little week.
Yeah.